Great. All right. So once again, if you have questions, if you can write them down, hold them or put them in the chat, that's okay too. We have a couple team members who are monitoring the chat. So even if we go through and you're like, oh, wait a minute, my chat, my question's way up there. Don't worry, we'll get to it. The other thing I'd love for you guys all to put yourselves on mute during this, unless you're speaking, and probably unless you're a presenter, you won't be speaking till the end. If you don't want to speak for your questions at the end, you can, like I said, you can put them in chat and we will address them. I'm not monitoring chat, but I do have a few folks on the call that are. So if there's something urgent or something, JC, Tara, and Skylar are all monitoring chat. So we're going to go ahead and dive in. Again, thanks for joining us. All right. So just setting the stage a little bit more. We have several participating cities in this outreach effort, to understand and communicate what's happening with Staple 1383, which is, we won't belabor some of the detail, but we're going to get into the nitty gritty that we know is applicable to you. These are the participating cities. If your city isn't on here, that's okay. Don't panic. You can stay on the call and learn. But if you do have, a more desire to learn more, even after this, you can reach out to your city and talk to them about their SB 1383 compliance plans. But after today, you should have a pretty good information about, what this is and how it affects you. So the edible food recovery requirement for your business, like I said, is as a result of Senate Bill 1383, also known as SB 1383. The objective of this requirement is to reduce short-lived climate pollutants, which include methane emissions from landfills. Methane is a powerful greenhouse gas that is created when organics decompose in a landfill. We have landfills in all of our cities. Some of the specific organic wastes include things like food waste, green waste like lawn clippings, things like that, and paper products. That's what we mean when we talk about organic waste. Organic material diversion from landfills is important because landfills are the third largest generators of methane in the state. So California is trying very hard to work on this. And that's SB 1383 is just the first step, or one of the steps, I should say. We've had others. For the purpose of this workshop today, the focus will be specifically on food waste and edible food recovery. So it's a pretty narrow discussion today, but we know that that's helpful because it'll help us kind of focus and it'll help you focus too. So again, food waste and edible food recovery, and we're going to get into that detail. The initial SB 1383 goal, here's some goals on the slide, by the way, so kind of just sets the stage for what you need to do. This is sort of the why. The initial SB 1383 goal was for a 50% reduction in organic waste from landfill disposal. That's aggressive, but it's important. The most of which come from yard waste, wood waste, landscaping waste, and some food waste diversion. So now, effective 2022, we're in 2022, all cities and counties in the state are required to set up outreach and education programs. You're participating in one of them, as well as services to divert food waste from businesses and homes, divert all that from the landfill. It's a tall order. The next goals are a 75% reduction in organic waste going to landfills by 2025. So we've got some time. Right now we're in this education outreach phase. What is this? How do we deal with it? What can we do? And really just sort of working with businesses to do that. And then by 2025, like I said, we're hoping to have a 75% reduction in that organic waste previously going to the landfill. And that ensures that 20% of currently disposed edible food is recovered. Recovered meaning doesn't go in the landfill, recovered for consumption, for human consumption. All right, a little bit more about the why. So the state of California regularly conducts studies at solid waste facilities like landfills and transfer stations to see, what's happening there. How much of what type of material is still getting into the land, still being sent to the landfills. While many communities have a wide variety of recycling programs in place, from those studies, we see food alone is one of the top 3 largest volume materials being landfilled. That's why we're here today. And a large segment of the paper products may be soiled paper. When material from those top 3 organic categories break down in the landfill, they create methane, which contributes to greenhouse gas emissions. Diverting these organic materials from the landfill and preventing the creation of methane emissions was why this legislation was passed. So this is really getting to the crux of it. Evaluation of food destined to landfill has shown there's a large amount of edible. So this is edible food being disposed. Well, this may not be, but there is edible food being disposed. And this waste is unnecessary, preventable, and could greatly benefit people in need. So we're going to talk about how to work on that in your community as well. On the screen here is just a quick snapshot of one dumpster, just to visually give you a visual, emptied multiple times a day in Los Angeles County. And everything in it is sent to the landfill. So this is just one fraction of what's happening. You may or may not handle this quantity of food in your business. Chances are, you might, I don't know, we don't, there's all kinds on the calls. But no matter what you're handling or how much you're handling, diverting it will help us with the overall goal. So let's talk about food recovery. Food recovery means collecting edible food that would otherwise go to waste and redistribute it to feed people in need. This is the highest and best use for food that would otherwise go to waste or end up in the landfill. Feeding hungry people through food recovery is the best use of surplus food and a vital way for California to conserve resources and reduce waste thrown into landfills. You see the stat on the screen there. Nearly 1 in 4 people in Los Angeles County are facing food insecurity. And we know that through this program, we can help. So what is edible food recovery? We'll get a little more detail on that. And who are commercial edible food generators? Is it you? We'll talk about that. So, like I said before, and I know there's a bit of repetition, but we figure for many of you, this is new on the call. And that's how we learn, right? So we hear something once and then hear it a couple more times and it starts to really become part of our world. Edible food means intended for human consumption. Edible food is not solid waste that is recovered and not discarded. So you'll see some on the screen here. There's a couple or 2 people there holding some eggs. Those are very edible. You've got some other things that are edible, but then you've got on the right-hand side here, you've got, looks like prepared foods. That's not what we're talking about. So edible foods include, but is not limited to, produce, packaged foods, prepared foods. All food donations must meet the food safety requirements of the California Retail Food Code. We'll talk a little bit more about that too, so don't worry about that. Also want to talk about the California Good Samaritan Act. This is a law and it's been around for a while, but it's very relevant to what we're talking about today. And I can read the slide. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and do that. This law protects organizations and individuals from liability when donating food. That's really what you'd be concerned with. So rest assured that law protects food donations that have exceeded the sell-by date, and provide liability protection against food donations that are made directly to end users. And it really aims to reduce the amount of food we throw away and divert it. So it too helps with our efforts. Beyond the federal Good Food Samaritan food donation legislation, In 2017, California passed this act. Let's see. We're going to have more information on this too at the end. We'll have some links and things, actually for a lot of things in this workshop. So we'll provide those too, so you can even get more information on this. SB 1383 and its regulations specifically note 2 tiers of commercial edible food generators. Why is it important to know whether you're a commercial food generator? You might be just know that you handle food, but why does it matter? Well, because there are specific regulations if you're deemed a commercial food generator, and we're going to talk about those. SB 1383 specifically notes these 2 tiers. So tier 1, you'll see that here on the screen, their compliance starts in 2022, which is now. Tier 2's compliance starts in 2024. Each of these types of businesses in these categories will end up being subject to inspection by your city or county health department, confirming your compliance with the law. So if you think you fit into one of these categories, then you probably do, and you'll be contacted. If not, if you haven't already, by probably our team to help identify, hey, who are you? And then really just have us help you with this whole process. You will be. At some point. So at this stage, tier 1 businesses include wholesale food vendors, food service providers, food distributors, grocery stores with facilities that are larger than 10,000 square feet, and supermarkets. The next phase, or tier 2, of which will include inspections will be these things listed here. So large restaurants, large hotels with on-site food facilities, education agencies with on-site food facilities, large venues and events, state agencies and cafeterias, and large health facilities with on-site food facilities. So this may or may not be you, but either way, this law applies to you. Just that commercial edible food generators have some inspection requirements that will be happening for them. Just a reminder, if you're joining the call a little late, this is being recorded and will be provided to you with the link to this workshop. And we will have 4 additional workshops happening over the next month. And you'll get those dates, times, and Zoom links as well. So you can always attend those if you'd like. If you have questions, please put them in the chat or hold them to the end. Okay. What are the requirements? Here we go. So the requirements are that you recover the maximum amount of edible food that you would otherwise be disposing of. So that's the requirement. However, we also need to arrange for a food recovery contract or written agreement. So that has to be in place with a food recovery organization or service that collects edible food for food recovery. Food recovery organizations that will accept food that the generator self-hauls. So either one of those is okay. So basically, here's the deal. You have to arrange for a written agreement of some sort with an organization to either collect, or you can deliver your otherwise edible food that normally would be disposed of, but now can be recovered to feed those in need. We do have tools that can help with this. So it's important, and especially when it comes to start with the inspection process. And we're going to take you through some of these options. The purpose of a food recovery agreement. What it does is it assists the commercial edible food generator with compliance of this law, SB 1383. It ensures edible food is recovered in a safe and effective manner. It protects food recovery organizations and services from donation dumping, identifies potential food recovery arrangements and cost models, supports cities with developing food recovery programs, and increases the understanding of regulations and compliance strategies. There's a lot of benefit to having that recovery agreement in place, plus that's required. So the cities know about this law, obviously, and they will be looking to enforce it through their enforcement and inspection program. So cities, what the cities will be doing is we'll be inspecting to verify that you have an edible food recovery contract and agreement in place and that you're keeping records. Again, just a quick reminder, if you're tier 1 commercial edible food generator, this is going to be starting to happen this year. And if you're in tier 2, that'll start to happen in 2024. But right now, the education and outreach is starting, as you can tell from this workshop. It is likely that some inspections may be included as part of an existing health department or city inspections. So you may already be used to seeing those folks and working with them. So this may be wrapped up into that, but it just really is a city by city program. So they'll have to determine what they want to do. However, in the beginning, some cities may contract with a food recovery specialist to help them ensure that you have what you need and that things are in place. This slide has an overview of the key edible food recovery dates and activities relating to SB 1383. Just a quick note, for many San Gabriel Valley food generators, tier 2 inspections are beginning in 2022. And this is 100% being provided by the San Gabriel Valley Council of Government. So those are the ones that are the cities that are participating. Those inspections will begin. And your city has added a value as an added value, added in-person resources to help you get on board and be compliant come 2024. So if your city is participating, you may be contacted by that in-person resource to help you along this path. But I like this slide too, because it tells you, okay, what happens in 2022 for those of us that fall into tier 1? Well, this tells you what's going to happen. Cities are going to be establishing that food recovery program. You'll need to be compliant, which means recording, tracking, and contracted with an edible food recovery organization. Jurisdictions will begin food recovery capacity planning. What can they handle? Education is going to be beginning with this workshop, but you'll see additional, hopefully, and then you will be getting some inspections. But those of you that fall into tier 2, you've got some things happening in 2024 as well. And that's noted on the screen. Tier 2 commercial edible food generators are going to be required to comply in that year. So you've got a couple of years. Inspections will begin for tier 2 until 2024. And that's when cities will begin to take enforcement action for non-compliant entities. So I know that was a lot, and you may have questions. Like I said, totally understandable. We've left plenty of time for questions at the end, but we do have some resources and to help you, additional resources to help you along the way. And I'm going to turn it over to Allison, who will talk about one in particular resource.
Thanks, Michelle. Hi, I'm Allison Schill, and because my entire life is food recovery, I saw this law coming down and was like, we need a tool that makes it easier for everybody that's involved. So I ended up creating an app and a web browser called Carrot. It's like care about it. And all you have to do is post your food donations. A nonprofit organization nearby will have an account where they can find your food donations, or if you have a pre-existing relationship with a nonprofit organization, you can assign it to them and then they can pick it up, or if you are already dropping it off to them, that's included in the app. The details of the donation are recorded, so all of the CalRecycle SB 1383 regulations that are required for you to keep records of who you're donating to, how often, how many pounds, what type of food, that's all already taken care of for you. And if you don't already have a previously written agreement, we auto-generate that contract for you, and it's available for download. It's all free. And so everything that you need to have done for this whole program is just done on this free app. All you need to do is download it, make an account for your organization, add your team members if you want to, and boom, that's all. That's it. That's all you have to do. In addition to that, I wanted to mention, because this isn't on any of the slides, if you are donating food that is needing to be temperature controlled, as if it's prepared foods or if it's frozen foods, it's always best to take the temperature of that food item right when it gets picked up or dropped off, and then just write it on a piece of tape or write it on a lid or something, what time and what temperature it was. And that's the only other thing that we really ask of you for donating that type of food. So do you want to go to the next slide? So with Carrot, it's set up to be super duper simple, that when you log in and create an account, if you're a business, you log in as a business. And if you're a nonprofit organization, you'll log in there and just enter in your own personal profile details, information, and then your business or your nonprofit information. If you've been invited by one of your team members who already made an account, you'll log in as a team member. Then you'll see a little plus button on the bottom that'll ask you to create a new food donation. And if you have recurring food donations that are already scheduled, you can just let us know and we'll actually help you to post that so that it just shows up every Monday or every Monday and Wednesday or whatever your schedule is. Then the nonprofit will find the donation, assign it to their team members to pick up or to, have it dropped off to them. And they'll finally have the final donation details, which they'll input in there, and you'll be able to see that in your records. So like I said, that's all you need to have for to make sure you have met all the requirements for this. Next slide. And for any food recovery organizations that are on this call as well, you also need to have a record of your donors, of the food weights that you are rescuing from them, and of any other food recovery organization or food recovery service that you're working with to exchange food as well. Carrot does all of that for you. It's all on the app and it's all for free. Next slide. All right, that's me. If you have any questions, let me know.
Thanks, Allison. Just love Carrot. And I love carrots, so it's all good. There's another resource there here that it exists for Los Angeles County. It's called Food Drop. So some of you may be familiar with it, some of you may not. But here is the URL at the bottom, fooddropla.com. And it is provided to businesses in LA County to safely donate their excess food. So also an option. I'm going to show you just a little bit more about them too as an option. This is just their brochure, but you can go to their website. All this information is there. You can contact them too. They also have a food donation toolkit with tracking forms and things like that. They also have a nifty little interactive map just to quickly show you sort of where their food drop recovery partners are. So that's another option. There are many options. We suggest you contacting your city as well and going to their website or contacting them. Every jurisdiction right now is ultimately, if they haven't already, will be posting local food recovery organizations on their websites. So again, check your city's website for more local resources. This looks like Azusa, and so they've got some things listed as well here for you to review. So we kind of whipped through this pretty quickly. We're definitely ahead of time. We know this was a lot, and hopefully, it's not the first time. Hopefully, you've heard this, but you'll probably hear more about it again. You'll be getting phone calls. You'll see this out in your world. But we just wanted to kind of give you enough information to know that it's important and it's going to be affecting you. No need to copy paste anything on here or screenshot this. You'll get all this information, but as you can see, there's lots of resources. You heard about a few today. There's many more. So you'll be getting this. But as long as, let me look at chat. Looks like only a few of you have put your name and email in the chat. If you do want this information, please, if you do want to email to you, please put your name and email in there and we will email it over to you. Great. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you guys to see if you have any questions. Now, let's see, let's go back through chat. Thank you, Priscilla. We'll be emailing that over to you. Petra, thanks for your name. No email in there, but if you do have an email, please add it. Oh, there it is. Got it. Diana, good. Okay, any questions? Feel free to come off mute. You can verbalize those questions to us, type them in chat. Tara, JC, or Skylar, did you guys see any questions that we might be missing?
No, I don't see any in the chat.
Okay, I'll get off of this slide really quick. SCS team, you guys have anything to add? They're not usually a quiet team, so so I'm surprised, but that's good. I think we also have some folks from various cities on the call. So if any of those city folks have any questions, thank you, Josh. We'll be sure, Tyrone, thanks for your email. Great. Feel free to ask a question.
You know what I'll throw out? I've noticed a number of the companies that and groups that are participating. If any of you are comfortable, I'm wondering if you'd be willing to just say that, if you're doing some food donations now. So I don't know if anybody might be comfortable offering that up just to, share an experience or say, yes, food donation is easy and has been easy, or here's some learnings that we've had. And similarly, I guess the bigger thing is for anybody that's doing it and maybe has, run into any hiccups or big questions, we've got a fleet of people on this call that can help, provide, some information or some sources or get in contact with you to help address any questions. So I know I threw a lot out there. So if anybody's willing to step up and share or ask a question, that would be, I think, beneficial for everybody.
Hi, this is Tamara from Stater Brothers Markets. And when it comes to food donation, we have, systemically done food donations with local charities for years and years. And one of the things I'm concerned about with 1383 is site-specific donation instead of global donation for our entire organization. So I don't know if you have any comment on site-specific compared to, an organization specifically.
Corporate thing. I don't know. I mean, I'm going to ask Allison, how would that, if you have an organization that has multiple locations in a corporate office, how would that be handled through Carrot? I'm just curious.
The rules for SB 1383 state that each location needs to be donating the maximum amount of food, edible food that they have. So I'm going to be a part of the team that actually comes around and does the inspections. We're looking for making sure that you have an agreement with the nonprofit organizations, that you have a list of all the nonprofit organizations and their contact information, that you know what kind of food and what quantity of food approximately you would have to donate on a monthly basis in pounds, and that you're donating that food. So what we're going to be looking for primarily on a store-by-store basis is that that organization is not throwing away edible food. And we've seen it a lot that some stores will donate, some of their, maybe their non-perishable, their canned goods, but then they're throwing away all their meat or they're throwing away all their dairy that is just like a couple of days to expiration. And that meat and that dairy is so necessary for all the nonprofit organizations. So as long as they're making a good faith effort, you know, organizationally and then on a store by store basis to just donate as much food as they have to donate that is safe for human consumption, then it's going to be totally fine. Do you have any concerns with what I just said there?
No, I do not.
Yeah, Alston, I had a question. So, so say I'm, you know, I work at the corporate office of an organization with multiple locations, and we make an agreement or whatever with one particular, you know, food recovery organization. But then I want to make sure all my various team members or general managers or whatever at all my locations are complying. They can all of my locations can have and utilize Carrot, right? And then just at their locations, activate Carrot.
That's correct. So Carrot separates out by the organization's address. We also have the capability for one large umbrella organization to be able to monitor all of their individual stores as well. And we're here to help as much as possible. We're not here to try and punish people. We're here to try and help the nonprofit organizations that are feeding the local community. And we just want to make sure that that people are trying to not spoil food. That's a part of the regulation with SB 1383. You can't intentionally spoil food. And if there is one store that's having trouble, enforcement really isn't starting until 2024. So for the next 2 years, our job is to help these stores get the resources they need to increase their food donation as much as possible. So if we do a site visit or we find out, you know, through some sort of complaint that there's a store that's still throwing away all their food and they're really not donating anything, we're going to try and get them the resources that they need to do that.
Great, thanks, Alison. Yep, Tyrone has a question, but we do have one from Priscilla first, and then we'll get to you. Priscilla wants to know, will cities be getting assistance or training with county and CalRecycle submission of annual data? I'm going to ask JC or Michelle to maybe tackle that one if possible.
Sure, this is Michelle. So there's a lot of information available on the CalRecycle webpage on the reporting requirements. CalRecycle has also been having a number of webinars themselves on various aspects of SB 1383. I would encourage you to join the listserv, which is for SB 1383. That information is available on the CalRecycle website under the Short-Lived Climate Pollutants Act webpage, and you can get information through the webpage on upcoming webinars. There's also great FAQ, frequently asked questions, web pages on all aspects of SB 1383. So that may also provide you some information on reporting. The reporting will be, there's a number of reporting requirements that will be due this first year, and then moving forward, reporting will be through your electronic annual report, your EAR, that you've most likely been doing for the last 10 to 20 years. And that, again, information on doing that will be available through CalRecycle.
Great, Priscilla, hopefully that answered your question. If not, dive back in or follow up with us. We can certainly continue that conversation. And Tyrone, did you have a question? You're on mute. If you could unmute, that would be great. There we go. Go ahead.
Okay. I give out to about 35 different places. It is my desire to be compliant. We don't have a whole lot of money to get refrigerator trucks and to deliver to these places. I'm hoping that through this organization now will be able to be compliant and continue to give out to low-income housing and senior citizen apps, apartments and places like that. I don't know where to start. It's kind of overwhelming. But I'm hoping that our church will be able to, get in line with what you're starting here. I'm not sure who to start talking to because we just came on yesterday. And so if you could, someone, I don't want to be spoon-fed. I hate to ask that, but I may have to be spoon-fed into this to do it correctly. So if you could help me out there, I would appreciate it. I want to pick up things and keep them cold. I want to deliver them and present them to the people in a correct manner. As of right now, I have to truthfully tell you that I'm not fully compliant, but I am getting the food to the people, and I do have the connections, to these people that actually need the food. So if you could help me there, I would appreciate it.
So Tyrone, this is Allison. You and I spoke yesterday. We'll be having people reach out to you soon. And as far as compliance with like having enough refrigerators and stuff, that's actually a long-term project that we're going to be working on with you on. And all you need to do now is just use the Carrot app and you'll be in compliance, basically.
Okay.
So don't worry about being in compliant. You're already on Carrot. We'll already help you through that. And we'll be reaching out to not only all of the nonprofit organizations like yourself to do a capacity assessment that is going to be ongoing to see like where your needs are for refrigeration and things like that. But also we'll be reaching out to all the different businesses to see, what kinds of food they have to make sure that we're matching people correctly with the types of foods they have and the types of foods that nonprofits can take.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And thank you, Tyrone, for the work that you do, for sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Good
My
feedback.
wife also.
Thank you. All right. We definitely have time for more questions. If anybody else has any other questions or to JC's point, feedback on your journey and so far. It's always good to hear those things. If you haven't put your email, you can also direct message me with your email through the chat. That's fine too. I'm the Michelle with 1 L. There are 2 Michelles on the call. So that's okay too. We'll be sure to follow up via email with you guys. All right. Yeah, if you do, listing your business or organization is also super helpful. A lot of times we can tell from your email address, but sometimes when it's a Gmail, we can't tell. All right. Well, then I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. And we're wrapping quite a bit early, but you never know how many people. We could have had 3 dozen people on this call, or who knows. But this is our first one. We're going to have several more. And we'll, like I said, we'll be following up. Really appreciate you attending today. And we'll be there with you along this journey. Thanks again. Have a good day.